Welcome, dear friend, and a warm thank you for choosing to spend this quiet interlude with us, here in our little corner of calm. Within this story, Aerie of the Quiet Bloom's first scent, it is our fondest wish that you might find a gentle pathway to peaceful rest, a soft current to carry you towards the shores of slumber. As the narrative unfolds like the petals of some rare, night-blooming flower, each word chosen to soothe and quieten the mind. Before you nestle down and allow the soft tendrils of this tale to draw you into its peaceful embrace, if you find a measure of comfort and serenity within these gentle unfoldings, perhaps you might feel inclined to bestow a little tap of appreciation upon the like symbol, and should you wish for more such tranquil journeys, a gentle click to subscribe to our channel ensures these quiet paths remain open to you. Now let your device rest and allow the story to begin. Chapter 1. The path unseen, the air unstirred. It was said in hushed tones and often with a soft sigh of longing that the path to the Aerie of the Quiet Bloom revealed itself not to the keenest eye, but to the quietest heart. Soren, a solitary wayfarer whose gentle spirit had long yearned for such a haven, carried a map sketched on supple, time-softened doe leather, its markings faded like pressed flowers, hinting more at a feeling than a precise location. For many gentle moons, Soren had walked not with haste, but with a soft tread upon the yielding earth, listening always for the subtle invitation that the ancient tales described, a silence that hummed differently from all other silences. The air itself, as Soren drew nearer to the foothills of the alabaster peaks, began to feel different, cooler, yet imbued with a peculiar stillness, as if the wind, that restless traveler, had chosen this place to pause and draw a long, slow breath. The final ascent was through a narrow passage, a mere parting in the ancient, weathered stone sentinels that guarded the Aerie's approach, their surfaces carpeted in emerald and silver lichens that felt like old, soft wool beneath inquiring fingertips. A clinging mist, pearlescent and cool, swirled gently about Soren's ankles, muffling the sound of their own soft footfalls and lending an ethereal quality to the great silent stones. It was less a climb and more a gentle incline, the path winding upwards as if drawn by an unseen hand, the world beyond falling away into a hazy, muted tapestry of greens and distant grays. Each step was taken with a quiet reverence, a sense that this was indeed a threshold to somewhere truly set apart, a sanctuary where the hurried pulse of the outer world held no sway. And then the passage opened, not onto a grand vista, but into a shallow, sheltered basin, cradled by the soft, curving shoulders of the mountains. Here, the profound silence was the first true marvel, a stillness so complete it felt like a soft, invisible blanket, comforting and deeply reassuring. The very air, as the tales had promised, seemed to hold its breath, cool and sweet against Soren's skin, carrying the faintest, almost imperceptible intimation of something exquisitely clean and uniquely floral, a scent that was less a perfume and more a premonition of peace. It was the Aerie Soren knew with a certainty that settled deep within their heart, a place where the world spoke only in the softest of whispers. Near the edge of this tranquil hollow, nestled against a smooth sweep of rock that rose like a protective shoulder, Soren discovered a small empty shelter, its entrance a simple unadorned opening in the stone. It seemed less built and more grown from the mountain itself, its interior walls surprisingly smooth and cool to the gentle touch of Soren's palm, the rock bearing faint, swirling patterns like frozen water. A shaft of diffused light, soft as brushed cotton, filtered from a small opening high above, illuminating the space with a gentle, welcoming glow. The air within was even cooler, carrying the clean scent of ancient stone and something dry and subtly sweet, like forgotten summer hay. Within this humble haven, a low pallet had been formed from tightly packed dried mountain grasses, their silvery green hue muted in the soft light. As Soren reached out, the grasses whispered with a dry, papery rustle, releasing a faint, comforting fragrance, a blend of sun-warmed herbs and the pure essence of the high, clean air. It was an invitation, simple and sincere, with a soft sigh that seemed to echo the stillness of the Aerie itself. Soren unslung their light pack, the movement slow and deliberate, feeling the accumulated weight of many days of quiet travel, a pleasant weariness rather than an exhaustion. Lying down upon the fragrant grasses, Soren felt an immediate sense of profound rightness, as if this small shelter had been waiting patiently for this very moment. The grasses beneath were surprisingly soft, yielding gently, cradling Soren's form with an unexpected comfort. Through the small, high opening, a tiny patch of sky was visible, a soft, indeterminate gray that promised neither rain nor bright sun, but simply a continuation of the Aerie's overarching peace. The subtle, almost scent of the unseen flora outside mingled with the dry sweetness of the grasses, creating a delicate olfactory balm. A great sense of peace began to unfurl within Soren, as gentle and slow as the unfurling of a fern frond in some hidden, damp glade. The weight of their journey, not just the physical miles, but the unspoken burdens carried from a world left far behind, began to lift, not in a rush, but like a fine, unseen dust settling softly away, leaving behind a growing lightness. The cool stone walls of the shelter seemed to radiate a quiet strength, a sense of timeless endurance that was deeply reassuring to a spirit that had long sought such steadfast calm. And as Soren lay there, listening to the profound silence of the Aerie, a silence broken only by the soft rhythm of their own now slowing breath and the occasional dry whisper of the grasses beneath them, a deep sense of safety enveloped them. The air, cool and pure, felt like a gentle caress on their skin. The diffused light, so soft and kind to the eyes, invited rest. Here, in this high, hidden place, it felt as if one could finally let go of all that was needless and simply be, held in the mountain's quiet, unwavering embrace. Chapter 2. The Whispering Textures of Stillness. After a period of rest so profound it felt less like sleep and more like a gentle sinking into the Aerie's deep quietude, Soren awoke to the same soft, diffused light and the encompassing stillness. A subtle change, however, was noticeable in the air. The faint, clean, floral hint from the previous day was a touch more discernible, a delicate promise rather than a mere whisper. With a gentle curiosity stirring, Soren rose from the fragrant grasses feeling lighter, their limbs infused with a restful ease they had not known for a very long time. The cool stone floor felt smooth and reassuring beneath their bare feet as they stepped out from the shelter into the soft morning air of the Aerie. The basin was bathed in a gentle, pearlescent light. The sun, though risen, still veiled by the high peaks or perhaps a fine layer of high-altitude haze, ensuring no harsh glare disturbed the peace. Soren began to explore the immediate surroundings, their movements unhurried, their senses open to the subtle wonders of this tranquil haven. The ground cover they discovered was not grass, but a unique moss-like plant with tiny, tightly packed silvery blue leaflets, astonishingly soft and springy underfoot, like walking upon the finest, deepest wool. It seemed to absorb sound, adding to the Aerie's profound quiet, and it released a faint, cool, earthy scent when gently pressed. Many of the Aerie's unique flora consisted of plants with broad, sturdy leaves of a similar silvery blue hue, their surfaces feeling cool and slightly waxy to the touch, as if perpetually kissed by dew. These leaves often caught the diffused light in a way that made them shimmer with a soft, internal glow. Here and there, nestled amongst these stoic plants, were clusters of smooth gray stones, some small enough to hold in a hand, others like gentle, sleeping beasts. Soren rested a palm on one of the larger stones and was surprised to feel a faint, comforting warmth radiating from deep within, a gentle heat that seemed to emanate from the very heart of the mountain. A soft, melodious trickling sound, barely audible yet persistent, drew Soren towards a fissure in a nearby rock face. From this narrow opening, a small, clear spring bubbled forth, its water spilling over a bed of smooth, multi-hued pebbles before disappearing into the thirsty moss. Soren knelt, cupping their hands, and drank. The water was cool and incredibly pure, with a subtle taste of sweet earth and clean minerals, invigorating and deeply refreshing. As they watched, tiny iridescent fragments within the pebbles at the spring's source caught the light, gleaming like scattered jewels, flecks of mica, perhaps, or some other crystalline substance, adding a touch of quiet sparkle to the serene scene. The gentle, repetitive murmur of the spring was a soothing balm to the ears, a natural lullaby that invited quiet contemplation. As Soren sat quietly by the spring, simply observing the gentle flow of water and the play of light on the wet stones, a flutter of movement caught their eye. It was a creature unlike any Soren had seen before, perhaps one of the sun-crust moths spoken of in the Aerie's gentle lore. Its wings, broad and shaped like delicate leaves, were the color of old parchment, yet veined with lines that glowed with a soft coppery light, as if traced with molten sunshine. It moved with a slow, deliberate grace, its flight almost silent save for a very faint, low hum, a resonant thrumming that felt more like a vibration in the air than a sound. It settled for a moment on one of his silvery blue leaves, its glowing veins pulsing gently before drifting onwards, a tiny mobile spark of warmth and light in the cool stillness. The encounter left Soren with a sense of gentle wonder, a feeling that the Aerie was a place where even the smallest inhabitants moved with a peaceful grace, contributing to the overall harmony. There was no sense of hurry here, no striving, only a quiet being. The air itself felt different from the world below. Thinner, yes, but also cleaner, imbued with a vitality that seemed to seep into Soren's very pores, clearing the mind and soothing the spirit. The textures of the Aerie were a constant delight. The yielding softness of the moss, the cool smoothness of the plant leaves, the gentle warmth of the stones, each a subtle invitation to touch, to connect, to be present. Later, as the light began to soften further, hinting at the approach of dusk, Soren discovered patches of another remarkable flora. It was the luminescent moss, growing in sheltered nooks and along the base of some of the larger warmth stones. As the ambient light diminished, this moss began to emit a soft, silvery blue luminescence, casting a gentle, ethereal glow upon its surroundings. It wasn't a bright light, but a subtle radiance, just enough to outline the shapes of nearby stones and plants, transforming the familiar into something magical and dreamlike. The glowing moss felt wonderfully cool and plush underhand, its light seeming to pulse with a slow, gentle rhythm, like the soft breathing of the earth itself. Soren returned to the small shelter as the Aerie settled into its twilight hush, the air growing cooler, the scent of the luminescent moss mingling with the faint, clean aroma of stone and distant, unseen blooms. The day had been one of quiet discoveries, each small revelation a confirmation of the Aerie's unique, tranquil magic. There were no grand pronouncements here, no dramatic vistas, only an unfolding series of gentle sensations, a tapestry of soft light, subtle scents, and yielding textures that together wove a profound sense of peace. And Soren felt a deep gratitude for having found this path, for being welcomed into this haven of whispering stillness. Chapter 3. The Dawn, Bloom's Gentle Revelation. A sense of quiet anticipation, delicate as the first breath of morning, stirred Soren from a deep and dreamless slumber, well before any hint of true daylight could penetrate the Aerie's high embrace. It was an inner calling, a subtle pull towards something yet unseen, something promised by the hushed reverence in the ancient tales of the Aerie. The air in the small shelter was cool and still, fragrant with the dry sweetness of the mountain grasses and the faint, clean scent of stone. Dressing quietly in the near darkness, Soren stepped out into the profound hush that preceded the dawn, the luminescent moss casting soft, ethereal pools of silvery blue light upon the path. Guided more by instinct and the subtle, almost imperceptible strengthening of that uniquely clean floral fragrance than by sight, Soren moved towards a particularly sheltered nook on the eastern side of the basin. Here the rock walls rose steeply, creating a natural amphitheater that seemed to cup the very essence of the Aerie's stillness. The air was noticeably cooler here, and the silence, if possible, even deeper, as if this small corner of the world was holding its breath in sacred expectation. Soren found a smooth, flat warmth stone, its gentle heat a welcome comfort against the pre-dawn chill, and settled to wait. Eyes turned towards the barely discernible shapes of the plants that grew in this secluded haven. Slowly, oh so slowly, the darkness began to soften, not with a sharp announcement of sunrise, but with a gradual diffusion of pearlescent light from the eastern horizon, a soft oyster gray luminescence that touched the highest crags first, then crept gently downwards. It was in this subtle, ethereal glow that Soren first truly saw them, the quiet blooms. They were unassuming plants with slender silvery stems and leaves like delicate furled green flags. But it was their buds that held Soren's gaze tightly closed, creamy white structures, holding the promise of the Aerie's greatest secret. As the pre-dawn light, now a tender wash of the softest rose and pale apricot, touched these buds, a transformation began. So slow, so subtle, it was almost imperceptible. The tightly furled petals of the quiet blooms started to unfurl, not with a sudden opening, but with a leisurely, graceful sighing outwards, each movement almost immeasurably small. There was no sound to this blooming, only a visual unfolding, a slow-motion ballet of awakening. And as the petals revealed their inner surfaces, a faint internal luminescence became visible, a soft, creamy white glow that seemed to emanate from the very heart of each flower, casting a gentle, almost holy light on the surrounding leaves. Then came the scent. As the quiet blooms opened more fully to the still, cool air, they released their fragrance. It was not a heavy perfume, nor a sharply sweet one, but something utterly unique, exquisitely delicate and profoundly pure. It was the scent of absolute serenity, a fragrance that seemed to bypass the ordinary senses and speak directly to the soul. It carried hints of cool mountain air, of freshly turned clean earth after a gentle rain, of the faintest, most ethereal floral sweetness. Yet it was more than the sum of these parts. It was, Soren felt with a deep, instinctive understanding, the very breath of peace itself, a perfume that gently cleansed the mind of all clutter, leaving only a profound sense of calm and a quiet, tender joy. Soren sat motionless, utterly captivated, breathing deeply of this sacred aroma. The air, already so pure in the Aerie, now felt transformed, sanctified by the quiet bloom's offering. The light, soft and diffused, seemed to grow a little warmer, or perhaps it was an inner warmth spreading through Soren, a response to the bloom's gentle magic. Each inhalation felt like drawing in pure tranquility, each exhalation a release of some old, unspoken weariness. The world, for this timeless moment, consisted only of the softly glowing flowers, their delicate, unparalleled scent, and the profound, enveloping stillness of the Aerie at dawn. The experience was not one of overwhelming power, but of exquisite gentleness. There was a quiet magic at play here, a magic woven from stillness, soft light, and the unique alchemy of the quiet blooms. It was a revelation not of sight, but of scent and sensation, a deeply personal communion with the heart of the Aerie. Soren felt a profound sense of gratitude, a quiet thankfulness for being allowed to witness this gentle miracle, to breathe in this fragrance that felt like a blessing whispered on the morning air. the surrounding stones, the silvery blue leaves, the very air itself seemed to participate in this quiet reverence, holding the moment as something precious and fleeting. As the light gradually strengthened, signaling the true arrival of morning, the quiet blooms remained open, their soft luminescence now blending with the gentle daylight, their fragrance still perfuming the air, though perhaps a fraction less potent than in those first moments of revelation. Soren knew, with a certainty that settled deep within their bones, that this pre-dawn ritual, this quiet witnessing of the bloom and the breathing of its scent, would become the gentle anchor of their days in the Aerie. It was a gift, offered freely by this tranquil sanctuary, a gift of peace, so pure it felt like coming home to a part of oneself long forgotten. The Aerie had shared its softest secret, and Soren's heart was filled with a quiet, tender wonder. Chapter 4. Immersed in the Scent of Serenity. The days in the Aerie began to weave themselves into a gentle, unhurried rhythm, each one anchored by the quiet ritual of the pre-dawn blooming. Soren would rise in the cool darkness, the silvery blue glow of the Lumisphere moss a soft guide, and make their way to the sheltered nook. There, seated upon a favored warmth stone, they would await the slow, magical unfurling of the quiet blooms, breathing deeply of their exquisitely serene fragrance as the first light touched the mountain peaks. This daily immersion in the bloom's pure scent became a profound meditation, a gentle cleansing of the spirit that left Soren feeling lighter, clearer, and imbued with a deep, unshakable calm that permeated the rest of their waking hours. The hours that followed were filled with simple, mindful observations, each a quiet joy in itself. Soren would often wander slowly through the Aerie, the bare feet reveling in the cool, plush softness of the silvery blue ground cover, a constant gentle massage. They watched the slow, almost imperceptible drift of soft, fluffy seed pods that detached themselves from unseen plants higher on the crags, spiraling gently downwards on the still air like tiny, peaceful parachutes. Sometimes, Soren would simply lie on a large, sun-warmed, flat stone, its surface smooth and comforting against their back, and gaze up at the vast expanse of the sky, which here seemed a softer, more tender blue than anywhere else, often veiled by a thin luminous haze that diffused the sunlight into a gentle, caressing warmth. The subtle sounds of the Aerie became a familiar and comforting symphony, the distant flute-like calls of unseen mountain birds, their melodies echoing softly from the high crags, never jarring, always soothing, the gentle murmur of the spring, a constant quiet song of pure water flowing over smooth stones. And sometimes, the faintest rustle of the silvery blue leaves of the larger plants, as if they were sighing contentedly in the profound stillness. Soren's own thoughts, once a busy stream, began to quieten, replaced by a gentle awareness, a peaceful acceptance of each moment as it unfolded. Worries and preoccupations from the world beyond the Aerie's embrace seemed to dissolve like mist in the morning sun, leaving behind a spacious clarity of mind. A profound sense of belonging settled over Soren, as if the Aerie itself had opened its gentle heart and welcomed them in. They noticed, with a quiet gratitude, the gradual release of tension they hadn't even realized they were carrying in their shoulders and neck. Muscles softened, and a pleasant sense of heaviness, of deep physical relaxation spread through their limbs. Their breath, once unconsciously shallow, now deepened naturally, each inhalation drawing in the clean, fragrant air of the Aerie, each exhalation releasing more of that old, ingrained tightness. It was a subtle, ongoing process of unwinding, facilitated by the pervasive peace of the sanctuary. On one particularly still afternoon, as Soren sat near the spring, watching the light play upon the water's surface, Elara, the quiet guardian of the Aerie, approached with a softness of tread that barely disturbed the moss. She offered Soren a small, intricately woven cup made from pale grasses, filled with a clear, faintly golden liquid. Her smile was gentle, her eyes reflecting the deep serenity of the Aerie itself. The drink was warm, tasting faintly of mountain herbs and a hint of something akin to honeyed. Sunlight, its warmth spreading slowly through Soren's chest, a comforting balm. Few words were exchanged, only soft sounds of appreciation and quiet understanding, a shared moment of peaceful companionship that resonated with the Aerie's own gentle spirit. Elara's presence was like the warmth stones, unobtrusive yet radiating a gentle, reassuring comfort. Sometimes, Soren would simply sit and observe the interplay of light and shadow as the day progressed, the way the diffused sunlight created ever-changing patterns on the varied textures of the Aerie, the soft sheen of the waxy leaves, the matte surface of the stones, the plush depth of the moss. The colors, too, were a source of quiet delight. The myriad shades of silver, blue, and gray, punctuated by the creamy white of the quiet blooms and the occasional deep emerald of a more shaded patch of lichen. It was a palette of profound calm, restful to the eyes and soothing to the soul. The unique fragrance of the quiet blooms, though most potent at dawn, seemed to linger subtly in the air throughout the day, a constant gentle reminder of the Aerie's core magic. Soren found that merely bringing to mind the memory of that pre-dawn scent could evoke a wave of peacefulness, a testament to its profound effect. The experience of the Aerie was not about seeking or striving, but about allowing, about opening oneself to the gentle gifts offered by this extraordinary place, its stillness, its subtle beauties, its pervasive healing peace. And so, Soren became immersed in the scent of serenity, in the textures of tranquility, in the soft light of profound calm. The Aerie was not just a place, but a state of being, a gentle embrace that allowed the spirit to unfurl and rest, much like the quiet blooms themselves in the tender light of dawn. Each day was a deepening of this peaceful immersion, a quiet journey into the heart of stillness. Chapter 5. The Aerie's Peace Carried Within. The gentle turning of days within the Aerie of the quiet bloom had wrought a subtle yet profound transformation in Soren. It was not a change marked by grand events, but by the quiet accumulation of peaceful moments, like dew gathering on a petal, until the entire being felt refreshed and glistening with a newfound serenity. The cumulative effect of the profound stillness, the daily ritual of the dawn bloom's ethereal fragrance, the soft textures, gentle lights, and the quiet companionship of Alara had seeped deep into Soren's spirit, like nourishing rain into parched earth. A quiet luminosity now seemed to emanate from Soren, a reflection of the Aerie's own gentle radiance. The morning ritual of witnessing the quiet blooms unfurl had become a sacred touchstone, and Soren knew that the memory of their creamy glowing petals and their uniquely serene fragrance would forever be etched into their heart. That scent, a perfume of pure peace, now seemed to cling faintly to Soren's simple clothes and even their skin, a constant subtle reminder of the tranquility they had breathed in so deeply. It was as if the Aerie had gifted a part of its essence, a portable sanctuary of scent and sensation. There came a time, unbidden by any clock or calendar, for the Aerie has no such things, when Soren felt a gentle stirring, a sense that the deep rest had fulfilled its purpose. It was not a desire to leave the peace, but a quiet understanding that the peace was now a part of them, something to be carried forth, gently and carefully like a precious, softly glowing ember. The Aerie had offered its profound solace, and Soren had received it with an open heart. And now a new, quiet path seemed to beckon, though its destination remained as softly veiled as the mountain peaks on a misty morning. Alara, with her intuitive understanding of the Aerie's subtle rhythms and the hearts of its visitors, seemed to sense this gentle shift in Soren. One soft evening, as the luminescent moss began its ethereal glow, she approached Soren by the quietly murmuring spring. In her hands, she held a small, smooth pouch woven from the same silvery blue fibers as the Aerie's unique ground cover, tied with a single strand of dried, quiet bloom stem. She pressed it gently into Soren's hands, her eyes conveying a warmth and understanding that needed no words. Inside, Soren would later discover, were a few dried petals of the quiet bloom and a small, perfectly smooth warmth stone, still radiating a faint, comforting heat. The act of departure, when it came, was as gentle and unhurried as every other moment within the Aerie. There were no grand farewells, only a shared look of quiet gratitude between Soren and Alara, a silent acknowledgement of precious gift, of sanctuary given and received. Soren paused at the threshold of the narrow passage that led out from the sheltered basin, turning for one last look at the tranquil haven. The air was still, holding that faint, clean floral promise. The luminescent moss glowed softly in the gathering twilight, and a profound sense of peace lay over everything like a soft, invisible mantle. As Soren stepped back into the passage between the weathered stone sentinels, the sounds and sensations of the Aerie began to recede, not abruptly, but like a softly fading melody. Yet the peace did not fade. It remained a steady, quiet hum within Soren's heart, a calm center that felt as ancient and enduring as the mountains themselves. The fragrance of the quiet bloom held within the small pouch and within memory was a tangible link, a promise that the serenity of the Aerie could be revisited, if only in spirit, through the power of gentle recollection. The narrative does not dwell on what lay beyond the Aerie for Soren, for the journey's true destination had already been reached, an inner landscape transformed by peace. The story's end is like a soft exhalation, a gentle release, leaving the listener not with a sense of conclusion, but with a lingering feeling of the Aerie's profound calm. The focus remains steadfastly on the enduring tranquility that Soren now carried, an inner sanctuary built from moments of quiet observation, sensory immersion, and the gentle magic of a place where flowers bloomed for the stillness and peace was as palpable as the air itself. The final sensation is one of deep gratitude, a soft, lingering calm, like the fragrance of the quiet bloom held gently in the memory, a whispered invitation to find such quiet blooms within one's own heart. The Aerie's peace, once experienced, was not a fleeting whisper, but a quiet song that would resonate within Soren always, a gentle light to illuminate any path they might choose to tread, carrying the quietude of the high hidden sanctuary wherever they went. And in that, there was a profound and lasting comfort.